Hi, I'm John O'Brien with Sedona.biz, and this is the wide world of Scorpion sports. And I'm here today with assistant football coach for the high school Scorpions, Mr. John Bradshaw. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Good deal. And I hear the Scorpions had quite a victory this weekend against Paradise Honors High School, 35-6 on the road. What are your thoughts about that game?
Well, my thoughts are the first game of the season, you always want it to be a win, right? So,
Definitely.
we came out a little sluggish, but we got the job done. The kids responded well, and they came out and really played hard.
We always talk about the offense first, but I'm going to talk about the defense first this time.
All right.
I hear that, like you said, at first it was a little touch and go because they've got a new defensive coordinator, the Scorpions, this year, and they throw a lot of tricks at the opposing offense. So why don't you talk about the defense a little bit?
Well, the defense this year is run by Mel Harms, and he's probably been coaching longer than I've been alive. I mean, the man is just a fountain of youth when it comes to defensive football. So he has pretty much reorganized our entire defensive strategies, plans, structure, how we do things. And, he's probably got 8 different looks, formations that we can go into, around, 40 different stunts that we can run. So it's all new thing. The kids have to huddle now before they go against an offense. So it's a new challenge, new look. They got to learn a whole bunch of new defensive terminology. And this was their first go at it. So the first couple series, a little rough, a little scary. Things were a little bit too far away from the line of scrimmage, not quite getting up there fast enough. But once they got dialed in, say by the 3rd defensive series, it looked pretty good. And we realized this is going to be a really tough defense to run or throw against. It's going to be fun.
John, we usually talk about the offense first in these interviews, but today I want to focus on the defense. I know the Scorpions have a new defensive coordinator and a new defensive look this year. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, Mel Harms is our new defensive coordinator, and he's an absolute genius. He has probably been coaching football longer than I've been alive, for 40-some years now. And he just knows it inside and out, and he's totally restructured our defense. And for me, it's great because this is what I always want to see in a defense. It's aggressive. It comes after them. It boxes them in. It's a great defense. It's very aggressive. It's got 40-some different stunts that you can run. It's got 8 different formations that you can, put out there. So it's really hard for someone studying film to figure out what you're doing and why you're doing it, and the ifs, ands, or buts of why you're doing this on defense. So it's really hard to look at a film and understand our defense. But on the other flip side of that coin, it's really hard for the kids to get the defense.
Yes,
because they got to remember all this stuff. And to start off the first couple series was a little rough. They weren't quite getting up to the line of scrimmage fast enough. They were still in their huddle. They were walking instead of running to get in their spots. So it took the first couple series for them to really get the new defensive way it's supposed to run, get the heartbeat of it. But once they got it and they hit that 3rd series, from that point on, they really couldn't do anything. We really had shut them down defensively. Once the kids figured out what they were supposed to do, got a pick off of one of the passes they threw, regardless of whether it was a run or a trick play or a pass, we had an answer for it. It's a really tight defense, and once the kids got it figured out and figured out what they were supposed to do and got everyone in the right alignments, it worked really well. And I'm a defensive guy too. I love defense, and I think that's how you win a lot of football games, is with a solid defense. If they score 0, all you got to do is put some points on the board, and that game's yours.
I would agree completely with you about the defense, and I would imagine that as the season goes on, the Scorpion defense will be more comfortable with that look as well.
And that's what I'm thinking. Even in that game, we saw it progress to a level that was pretty impressive. So I'm thinking 2 or 3 games into the season, our defense would be really dialed in and looking really good.
And only giving up 6 points in this game, and that score was a late score late in the 4th quarter. So pretty darn good for a first game for the Scorpions, 35-6 victory.
Yeah, well, let me just tell you a little bit about that 6 points. Mel Harms was over in the corner with his arms crossed because we started subbing in some people he didn't want us to be subbing in. He's like, sub them in on offense, not defense. So he doesn't like giving up any points. He doesn't like giving any points. So when you start putting freshmen in on his defense, he's not a very happy camper.
Wanted that shutout, yeah.
Yeah, but Rick Walsworth's one of those coaches that he likes to try to get everyone in and let them play. So the last 3 minutes, Wasn't going to hurt anything to let some of the freshmen get a freshman or two in, and a lot of the sophomores that hadn't got to play, get them in and let them play some football.
And then on offense, the Scorpions ran for over 300 yards in this game, and some of the they only threw 4 passes in the whole game, completed 2 out of 4 passes. Some of the statistics. I want to name some players here. Sophomore Derek Johnson, 2 rushing touchdowns. He had 7 carries for 51 yards. Brian Nguyen had a couple of touchdowns, 5 carries for 63 yards. Mason Aronson got most of the carries, 11 carries for 54 yards. And then junior Andre Davis, first year at Red Rock, had 3 rushes for 85 yards, caught a 20-yard pass, and he also had a touchdown, a 66-yard touchdown run. So the offense was clicking.
Well, and the nice thing about our offense this year is we don't have 1 or 2 key athletes. We've got like 9 different athletes that can score at will at any given point. And, the main reason we had all those running yards, we didn't need to pass. We threw a few passes just to make sure we kept them honest. But other than that, we didn't need to pass. The run was getting the job done, and we were, cracking the yards off pretty good. I think the average yard per carry was like 5.5.
It was even higher. Yeah, it was even a little higher.
So, we had a good amount of yardage every time we ran the ball. So, why fix it if it's not broken type of situation. But, we're a team that can pass the ball too. I mean, we've got definitely some deep threats and can pass the ball just as well as we can run it. But I'll tell you what, those kids that you mentioned are all impressive. Brian Nguyen and our new kid Andre
Davis.
Andre Davis. They're both lightning fast. Probably 4.5, 4.6, 4.7 speed, somewhere in there, and they can get down the field quick. Once they hit a hole, they're gone.
Yeah, that's why I noticed when you mentioned the depth of the offense as compared to last year. When I looked at the statistics from this game, I noticed a lot of players getting carries and a lot of yardage, and that was nice to see.
Yeah,
spreading it around a little bit.
The difference from last year to this year is immense. I mean, we had 2 players that were, basically our ball carriers, and they were 5 flat runners. I mean, they were good athletes, but they were, 5 flat. And that's, for high school football, that's not terrible.
Right.
But it's not what we have this year. I mean, this year we've got 11 kids that run 5 flat or better. So that's a
terrific.
lot different.
Yes, the speed is increased this year.
Yes, it helps immensely.
And now next week, September 6th, Friday, September 6th is the first home game against Pinon High School. And I know they had a really tough game this weekend against Round Valley, who was a perennial powerhouse.
Oh yeah.
And what do you see in this ball game, the first home game against Pinon?
Well, I think Pinon is always a good football team, and they get it together usually after their first loss. They have this first loss every year to Round Valley. Which is, I'm sure they don't look forward to that every year. But from that point on, they usually go undefeated for quite a while until the end of the season when they normally play us, and then usually we're the next good game they get. But this year it's changed the schedule a little bit to where we're number 2 now.
I see.
So it should be an interesting game. I'm not going to say that we're going to go out there and totally just destroy Pinon.
Sure.
But we feel it's a team that we can play against. And as a matter of fact, we think we can play against anyone on our schedule this year. We may lose, we may win, but we will definitely be competitive this year.
Yeah, I noticed Pinon last year. When they played the Scorpions, I think they came in. It was the last game of the season, and I believe they were 7-2. But they had a really good season last year. So.
Oh yeah, and they usually do. The year before they had a really good season too. I think we were their first loss or second loss the year before as well. So they always have a pretty good schedule, and they have a pretty good record going into the playoffs.
Well, we'll see if that defense can start from square one against Pinon.
Well,
this weekend.
it'll be very interesting. I mean, if we play defense like I know we can, we should have no problem.
That's great.
But you never can tell how the kids are going to show up and how they're going to feel, and so there's a lot of emotion in the game of football.
When you're dealing with 14, 15, 16, and 17-year-olds, you never know, do you?
Yeah, no, it's a toss of the coin.
Hey, I want to talk about the Save Our School sports initiative that you were heavily involved in. Can you just talk a little bit about that? How did this come about? Who was involved? Just give me a little background about that, and how has the fundraising concluded?
Okay. Well, basically, I'll have to go all the way back to the override not passing last year.
Right.
And then once that override didn't pass, it goes in stages where each year it takes a little bit more out of the school's budget. So this first year it took $300,000 out of this year's school's budget. So the school got together, they figured out how they could best cut things here and there without cutting classes or sports or anything out of their curriculum. Making bigger class sizes, getting rid of some janitorial staff, whatever they could do to save some money. So they whittled it down as best they could, and they still got to the point where they were going to have to cancel some, performing arts classes and some AP classes and that kind of thing. And also there's going to be 2 sports that were going to be cut. They were going to cut the girls' freshman volleyball and the cross-country team, and then they were going to eliminate the sports performance class. Well, for us, the sports performance class is the major thing that has made football turn around.
Yes.
We've gone from winning no games to winning 6 last year to, who knows how many we're going to win this year. And it's all because of that sports performance class. So as coaches, we were like, no, we can't lose that class.
Don't cut that.
We can't. What do we got to do to save that class? And, Sedona 30 came in and they kind of saved all the AP classes and the performing arts and, took care of the brunt of it. But then we wanted to come in and we want to take care of the sports because sports are important too. I mean, people don't realize that when you play a sport, you got to learn how to work in a team environment. It keeps you out of trouble. It takes all that spare time that you're wondering what to do, and it focuses you into something positive to do with your time, and it keeps you in shape and healthy. And there's a lot of reasons why you want to have sports in your program and not start going down that road of cutting sports. And then for us, for the sports performance class, we definitely didn't want to see that go because of the football. And it helps all the other sports as well, So we went to the principal, Darren Cruces, and asked him, well, can we get Rick in there? Because Rick's the one that taught the class before. Well, he's also the math teacher. So because of
Coach Walsworth.
Right. Okay. Because of the situation, he needed him for a 4th block math class.
Yes.
So it wasn't happening with Rick. So I'm like, all right. So how do we fix this? What do we do? So he says, you got to find a replacement that can teach sports performance that is acceptable to the school. So naturally, Paul Burke popped in my head right away, and Tony Hauserman and myself, we conspired on how we could make this happen. And we went back to Paul Burke with a plan. We said, all right, we got Paul Burke. How do we go what do we go from here? We got someone that can teach a class. Well, Darren knew Paul Burke, so he knew he was a good fit. And we had to go through all this stuff to see if he would fit as a teacher, So first he had to get his transcripts from college and see what kind of hours he had that classes that, that would fit the sports performance class. Well, as it turns out, he had to take this enormous test that normally takes 6 months to study for. He had the credentials, the schooling that he needed, but he didn't have the class time. So he had to take this huge test in order to be qualified to be a teacher. Well, this test, most teachers got to spend 6 months studying.
You don't have 6 months to do this.
Yeah, we got 9 days.
9 days.
So this is like, we're finding this out. He's got 9 days to study for this test. We're finding out a week before the 9 days where he can start getting his study material.
Wow.
And so we've got around 2.5 weeks before we find out even if he's going to pass this test and be qualified to teach. And then we got to make our call if we're going to do this fundraiser or not, because we've only got, like 5.5 weeks till the 17th, which is when they needed the funds. So we made the judgment call, well, let's go ahead and just do the fundraiser and have faith that Paul Burke is going to pass this test.
The test.
So I went over to Paul Burke, you're going to pass this test, right, Paul Burke? And he's like, yeah, I'll pass it, I swear. So Paul Burke did what he said, and he studied nonstop for 9 days. I mean, poor guy just studied his butt off. So he's studying. We're now creating a fundraiser in 5.5 weeks. So then I figured I'd grab the one program that I knew was a really big powerhouse on fundraising. That was the Red Rock Youth program. And, they were going to have the youth football. And we've used them before to help the high school out and to do things for the high school. And, we're still board members. And, we felt that it would be a little safer to run it through the Red Rock Youth football program than through the Booster Club. Because a Booster Club, it gets money and, you really can't designate where it goes as easy as you want to.
Do it through the other. Mm-hmm.
So love the Booster Club, but it just wasn't a vehicle that we really wanted to try to use. So we used the Red Rock Youth Football Program, and the other thing is they've got a lot of soldiers on the ground, a lot of great people that help with fundraisers, and they needed to raise some money for themselves anyways. So we figured we could raise money for the Red Rock Youth Football Program, the girls' freshman volleyball team, the cross-country team, and the sports performance.
Great idea.
And instead of having 4 separate fundraisers, just have one big one and try to just knock it out and be done with it. And that's what we did.
So, so you were involved. Tony Hauserman was involved. Was also a coach.
Oh yeah, Tony
So
Hauserman.
I'm sure other individuals.
Yeah, we had Lori Sachowski. Pretty much the whole board from the Red Rock Youth Football Program.
Okay.
We had some help from John Parks from the volleyball team. We had the cross country team helping out, and Lori Sachowski was the one basically helping out with that. We just had a ton of people helping out.
Nice group of people helping out.
Oh yeah, we had probably between the cheerleaders and the youth football team, and we probably had 100 people out there, feet on the ground, getting auction items.
In 5
and
weeks,
selling
getting
tickets.
this together. And,
Yeah.
and so, what was the end result? What was the total that you raised?
Well, we've raised, if you're just counting actual cash,
Okay.
we raised $22,000, approximately, a little bit more than that.
Fantastic.
But if you start looking at all the in-kind stuff that we had, because we had Jenny Lee Harrison come in, so
That's
we had to
right.
get plane tickets comped, and we had
That's
to get
right.
meals comped, and rooms comped, and then the PR, same thing with the PR staff that came in with her, and that did all the PR for the whole thing. And then we had the auction items, the press. We had the Red Rock News. Bob Larson and Tom Tabak both gave us a lot of extra airtime and newspaper time that really helped out immensely. You add all that stuff together, and the number gets closer to like $40,000.
40,000. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is, and so you did what you needed to do to save these programs, and
Yeah.
it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we did just enough to accomplish what we needed
What
to
you
accomplish.
needed to accomplish, right?
Yeah, we saved the sports performance class, paid for it in its entirety.
Okay.
With the help of Lou Hoyt, we're going to take care of cross country, and then the girls volleyball will have to raise a little bit more
They do
money.
their own fundraisers too.
And then we were also able to give a good chunk over to the Red Rock Youth Football Program.
Fantastic.
And help them with their fundraising as well. So everyone got a good chunk and got most of it, if not all of it, paid for. So we feel it was a huge success, and especially with the amount of time we had to run it.
Yeah.
And then you got Bonnie Singer doing her event, which was a huge success, and then the Sedona 30. So between the three different groups, this
That's
town.
right, Rita Rudner. That's right. That all played into this as well, didn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, they were
okay.
trying to, take care of the remedial kids classes and do some things for them to make sure those didn't go away and enhance those some more even.
Mm-hmm.
So between the three different groups, we really did a good job this year on taking care of it. But we're definitely throwing out the word out there. Vote yes in November, unless you want to see us all again. this time we'll look double what we did this year.
So vote yes on that.
So vote yes in November.
I can't imagine how tired you must be at this point. I mean, just all that work you've put in. So.
Well, it wasn't just the fundraiser, because I'm still coaching football
you're still doing
and still
that.
running three
I know.
businesses, and I've got a big merger that I'm doing right in the middle
Yeah.
of at the same time. So, and then I've got my own family that is getting like zero time. So it's been interesting, but
I know, and I know right now you're running over to watch some film from the first game. So
Yeah.
we will let you go. And anyway, we'll see you out there against Pinion on Friday night.
All right.
John Bradshaw, assistant head coach for the Scorpion football team. And I am John O'Brien with Sedona.biz, and thank you for joining us with the wide world of Scorpion sports. And we will see you next time.